again. It's a
Hey, what's up One Piece fans? I am Kage and today we will be discussing the full spoilers of One Piece chapter 1065. This chapter was definitely a Straw Hats focused chapter and there are mentions of the Ancient Kingdom too. So let's get right into it. So first we have a scene with Zoro. Zoro states his reason for staying back on the ship. It is because this island is the property of world government or at least affiliated with them. Zoro questions if the other crew members get caught, who will save them. Brook also agrees that this is indeed his reason for staying back as well. So this is connecting us back to the last chapter where we saw Zoro and Brook stay back on the Sunny instead of following Lilith and the other Straw Hats into the interior of Egghead Island. The reason is sketchy and I don't really understand it yet, since Zoro was the one who wanted to speak with Vegapunk among others. Brook also says he is here for the same reason. Let's see the next one. Karibu finally reveals himself. Zoro is not surprised. Karibu does talk with Zoro and Brook about being dropped off at a safe location after heading out from Wano, but he did not want to end up on an island affiliated with the world government. Zoro recognizes Karibu from when he had helped Luffy in the prison mines of Wano, but asks him to leave their ship. Karibu curses them. Whether or not he leaves is not clear. Okay, Oda immediately cleared that up. I forgot Karibu had been hitchhiking with the Straw Hats hidden in a barrel all this time. Maybe this is why Zoro stayed back. Also, looking at the spoiler, it feels that Zoro already knew Karibu was with them, and I am guessing Luffy, Sanji, and Brook were also aware. Knowing their nature, they just let him be, which is hilarious. Not clear on what happens to Karibu when Zoro asks him to leave. Knowing that Leech, he's just going to stick around, but I wouldn't want to make Zoro mad. So maybe he left after looking Zoro in the eyes and pissing his pants. Next, we see Sanji's group enter the main Vegapunk's laboratory with Lilith. They are surprised to see moving stairs that are floating above the surface. Franky is impressed, of course, and he asks Lilith as to what kind of energy Vegapunk is using to run all of this tech. At first, I was like, this may be it may be like Marijua's moving roads, but it feels like those stairs from Harry Potter. Franky is curious, and I like it. We know he will have a big emphasis on this arc. Lilith says the island is powered by fire and that fire can be transformed into any form of energy. Lilith also mentions they are researching more things that can burn, and if there is an unquenchable flame that exists in this world, they could even make a sun out of it. This feels a little bit anticlimactic that Vegapunk mainly uses fire, because I was expecting some kind of fancy element, but the rest of the content seems very important. We don't know what kind of flames he is using yet though, but that comment about the unquenchable flame sounds intriguing. What if Luffy can produce it in Gear 5 as the Sun God Nika? Here we have Lilith disappearing through a metal wall. The Straw Hats can't believe their eyes, so Lilith asks them to cross. The Straw Hats cross the wall and Usopp looks back to find that the metal wall disappeared when they crossed and reappeared again. Another Harry Potter reference here. Also, first I was thinking that the wall was an illusion, but looking at the description, it may have disappeared and reappeared again. We see Lilith disappear and another voice asks the Straw Hats to keep walking. Nami thinks there is treasure from the future to be found, but then Seraphim Jinbe appears. Few Straw Hats confuse him for the actual Jimbei or Jimbei's son, but Sanji can tell that it is a clone. So there is a bit of a joke here, like Usopp saying that it's Jinbei's son, and other Straw Hats saying that it's actually Jimbei. But Sanji is the one who realizes it. I don't prefer Sanji over Zoro, but I also respect Sanji as a strong individual. And this shows here, where others are being deceived, it is not enough for a man like Sanji, especially with his background of cloning. Also can't wait for actual Jimbei to meet his son. Seeing the hostile Jimbei, Usopp says he's not shocked that the government didn't greet them like this from the start. It was a trap. Nami is furious and attacks Jimbei, but the Seraphim ends up hurting her. Sanji gets mad and attacks Jimbei. Usopp and Robin also join the attack. It is not clear how the fight has turned out so far, but Franky also joins and uses his signature radical beam. The Vegapunk's satellite Edison, who may have been controlling the Jinbei, is shocked. Wow, so they just revealed the fourth satellite of Vegapunks and its name is Edison. Also, I was not expecting to see more Seraphims here. I had a headcanon that the government procured all the Seraphims and that is the reason Lucci and the other Cypherpole members were coming here with Seraphim Kuma to kill Vegapunk. Now this changes things. Vegapunk may not be that unguarded after all. Edison also criticizes Franky using a laser beam on a mere child. He further mentions not having tested the Seraphims to endure lasers. Lilith is also there commenting how these pirates don't know how much it costs to build one Seraphim. She also talks about ripping the Straw Hats' heads. This is hilarious to me. Radical beam is strong, but come on, at this point it is overused. Like every single pacifista can use something along the lines of a radical beam. Still, we don't know what it did to Seraphim Jinbe, but judging by Edison's and Lilith's reactions, it did a good chunk. Now, if Franky is able to damage it, Sanji could do much worse to it. Fake spoilers mentioned Sanji broke his leg attacking the Seraphim, and look at what is going on now. Sanji is not that weak, bro. Another thing here is to note that these Seraphim children are indeed a recent invention, and they can grow up. This is like Sanji's siblings and Judge's experimentation with the lineage factor. Edison stops Lilith and shouts that he has an idea for a new invention. He quickly leaves the room with his cat and asks Vegapunk's another satellite, Pythagoras, to handle the situation. Pythagoras continues to order Jinbe to fight Straw Hats because this is a great opportunity for him to gain combat data. Okay, I butchered that name for sure. This is a carnival so far of Vegapunk satellites. Only one more satellite is to be revealed. Anyway, by Pythagoras' words, we can confirm that these Seraphims are new and they aren't as battle tested, meaning they might not be that good at counter-attacking opponents who could hurt them. At least for now, they are only good for fighting opponents who cannot even damage them. Meanwhile, we see Edison get back in the lab and begin adding attack patterns or the pedigree factor into Seraphim experiment to speed up their growth. It is unclear here if Edison is actually experimenting on the Seraphim children or just adding things into some computer-like device. However, this experiment causes the Seraphim's blood to turn green. There is York, another satellite of Vegapunks, who seems to be eating something like a glutton and is later found to be hibernating. There is a lot of science mentioned here which I do not comprehend yet or understand. At least in the spoilers, there's so much science involved. So I'm not going to try and explain it and cause even more confusion for you guys. Comment down below if you want to see the actual full spoilers that are there in this scene. I will reply to your comment with a link to the spoiler document. So here again we see Edison making changes to Seraphims. They are adding the pedigree factor into their body or something. Probably One Piece theories could explain it as of now, but it does seem similar or related to the lineage factors of Judge clones. We also see the last of Vegapunk satellites and their name is York. I don't know how she looks yet, but my guess is she looks more human than most of the other satellites. This satellite is like a glutton which eats and sleeps a lot, probably compensating for the other satellites so they don't have to eat and sleep. Which is weird because most of the satellites are robots, so do they still need to sleep and eat? So that is little bit of confusion is there. Next up, Pythagoras is still testing Seraphim Jinbe. At this time, Shaka interrupts the combat experiments and orders the Seraphim Jinbe to stop, and it stops. Shaka also asks Pythagoras and Lilith to stop, to which they reply with dissatisfaction. Shaka then asks if the pirates present here are really the Straw Hats. Sanji says yes and asks why his feet are stuck to the floor. Shaka reveals that the shoes they are wearing have magnets in them and they have been activated because Vegapunk doesn't trust pirates that easily. Shaka also asks if Straw Hats think this is the island of future. Franky says it has to be due to all the mechs and other technology present. Franky also asks what kind of technology Vegapunk uses. Shaka replies that he uses the tech of the past. Now it is time for some heavy reveals. Vegapunk is actually using the technology of the past. Is this one of the things that was erased during the Void Century? This is big and I am guessing it was the tech used by the ancient kingdom that we always see mentioned in many theory videos. But like Vegapunk But like, is Vegapunk a fraud for stealing others' technology and being called a genius just because of that? And if yes, could it be that Vegapunk can also decipher the ancient transcript like Robin? Maybe that is why he was able to understand the tech of the past and maybe recreate it. Can't say anything solid here, just a bunch of thoughts that come to my mind. The scene then shifts to Luffy and gang who discover a giant robot made of metal in a scrapyard. It has rusted, which means it is old. Bonnie questions if this robot has even seen motion in its life. Jimbei also comments about the robot looking ancient instead of futuristic. Again, we cut back to the scene with Franky and Shaka. Franky asks, what does Vegapunk mean by the technology of the past? Shaka replies that there was once a kingdom of an ancient civilization just like Egghead Island 900 years ago. Can you believe it? I can't believe we are getting to know this much information. This arc is definitely anything unlike Zoro, and I feel like it is a major arc for the series. I still can't say if Vegapunk uses tech of the past or he has tech similar to what the ancient kingdom had. It is not clear with the spoilers. Maybe once the chapter releases and once we see the official translation, we might be able to say something here. With all that said, we have covered the entirety of this chapter. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and let me know what your favorite part of the chapter was. And also let me know which of the 6 Vegapunk satellites are your favorite so far. Also, there are no breaks next week for the chapter. Thank you. Peace.